Verbally Effective with Ina Esco is an interview-style podcast that intersects art, culture, politics, and entertainment with a Memphis focus. With producer Sana Marie. Each week, I'm joined by a featured guest with roots in Memphis. Verbally Effective delves into each guest's personal journey to uncover the incredible stories fueling their purpose, the highs and lows of their pursuits, and how through their passion, they are moving the culture forward. Be sure to follow Verbally Effective and Ina Esco on Instagram. Also, download the Verbally Effective podcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Play Music. Don't forget to check out the website and submit to be a guest at verballyeffective.com. Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Verbally Effective Podcast. I'm your hostess with the mostest, your double E, Ina Esco. Check it out. You know, this podcast intersects art, culture, politics, entertainment, but guess what? With a Memphis focus. That's right. I'm talking to all the movers, the shakers in the M. You get to hear their journeys today. And before we get started, I want to send a huge shout out to the Consortium MMT, also my team, Patrick Harden, Brandon Lewis, for helping me produce all of this wonderful podcast, right? So check it out. I have with me today somebody that I've been following on social media for quite some time. Never met him in person. I'm so excited today. I have Mr. Tolson, the one, the only, the artist, because you got so much going on, sir. You know that, right?
I'm just thankful to be on the show, you know, to finally meet you face to face.
Awesome,
And,
yes.
Yeah, so I'm excited.
Thank you for coming today. Like I told you earlier before we started recording, I saw you were busy with a big project with Choose 901. It seemed like you always busy. Give us some deets on that.
Okay, so what I can say right now is that it's the first of its kind with Choose 901. They're collaborating with artists, and I'm the first artist they're collaborating with. And
the first.
I did a piece, and it'll be available next week. And I'll be able to talk more about it then. So
some real Memphis-like stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, so you guys, you're going to catch him on his socials. And if you follow him, if you're not following him, follow him today. And check out this big project with Choose 901. But let's start at the beginning, Esso. Where are you originally from?
So originally, I'm from East St. Louis, Illinois.
Okay.
Shout out to East Boogie. Everybody didn't know about that. And you know, it's like Memphis.
It is
in a lot of ways. You know,
it is.
And because of that, it got the slack that it got. And but it was a lot of love. A lot of love. There was a lot of community there, and that's where I started.
So, any siblings?
Yeah, I got a sister, and I got a sister, half sister older, in Georgia. But I grew up with my other sister. Okay,
how old were you when you moved to Memphis?
Oh, I was young.
You was young.
I was 22.
Okay, so but you completed, you know, your formal education in St. Louis and everything. You know what? I actually spent some time in Florissant, Missouri.
Ooh, what you know about it?
I was there.
What you know about
well,
it?
actually, my dad, he was in the Army.
Okay.
And he got custody of me when I was 16. And when I moved with him, they were in Florissant, Missouri.
Yeah.
But, you know, they kept saying St. Louis. But when I got there, we was in Florissant, right? And I was there like literally 3 months. But within those 3 months, I had worked at that skating ring that was real high.
Yeah. I know what
about?
you're talking about.
That was the time of my life.
Wow.
I like St. Louis. I mean, I only saw a little bit of it within 3 months.
Yeah.
But I liked it. But I see what you're saying, making a comparison for St. Louis and Memphis, too. I see what you're saying.
And I think what makes them like that is that they're like right on the Mississippi River, like they're port cities. A lot of industry was going in, you know, and so they're I call them sister cities. Yeah. So like when I moved here, it wasn't a big transition. I just had to learn about the Mid-South version versus the Midwest.
Right. I'm going to stay on the Midwest for a little bit more before we come across the water. But let's talk about, where were you interested when you attended high school back in East St. Louis?
So I was an art kid. I've been an art kid.
Always an art kid.
Yeah. But, you know, you had to maintain some sort of other thing. I was big on sports. I ran track and field.
Were you good?
Yes, I went to state.
What did you run?
I ran hurdles.
Oh, you got them good legs over here.
Yeah, I did. I did hurdles. Went to state finalist. It's actually how I went to college. I went to college on track scholarship.
Okay, where did you go on track scholarship?
I went to where did I go? I forgot where I went.
Lord,
because there's an interesting story with that.
Tell me.
So I got a track scholarship to Southern Illinois University, SIU at Edwardsville, and I was there for a year.
Okay.
Right. I had a good time in college, so much that the first semester I was on academic probation.
See, you was doing too much.
I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to do in college.
Okay,
but
got your
at least the experience, right?
Yes.
But then that continued the second semester, and so then I kind of got kicked out.
Okay.
Of college.
Hey, we got to pass. We got to pass.
But what happened was I went to the junior college, and so happened you were saying Florissant. It was a junior college in Florissant called St. Louis Community College in Florissant, specifically that campus. And so went there, and I was like, well, I was feeling bad because I got kicked out of college. I'm like, oh, now I got to go to this junior college, and I was like, but when I got there, I found out that particular campus was their art program was the first nationally accredited program for a junior college. So it just so happened that, this thing that I've really been passionate about that I wanted to develop was right across the water, and it was everything that it was supposed to be for me.
See?
And so even though I got, dropped out, not drop out, I got kicked out.
You got kicked out.
It made sense. It all worked out. It all worked out.
Okay.
So I can't complain.
Okay.
So I finished there, and I was continuing education. It took a little longer than the 2 years because I had to pay for everything, so I was working, got a job, and doing that and just paying for everything with school. And after that, I got my portfolio together. I got my grades up.
So you got serious.
And I'm like, okay, we did that. It was a good year. Now, the first year, college had fun.
Okay.
But I'm like, okay, we need to buckle down. We need to, get the business. And it was a rep from Memphis College of Art that came to the school and talked to them, and that's how I got to Memphis.
That's how you got to Memphis.
Yeah.
Now, even when you were in Florissant, did you know you was good then?
I want to say yeah. But I didn't know how good I was. I knew I had potential, and I knew that I had the talent. I just didn't know where I stood, in ranks with my peers. So, but I felt like I had a strong enough chance to make something happen with it.
Yes.
So,
yes,
yeah.
And you've definitely been doing that. Now, what did that rep from the Memphis College of Art say to get you to come to the Bluff City, baby?
So they made it look real good now. And it was. The presentation was nice. But the funny thing is, I also had a rep from Cleveland that was coming at me real hard. So I was in a very interesting position because I was this young black man. Grades was on point.
Okay.
Portfolio was right. And they like, oh, we want you. You gonna make our campus look good. We got one of you. And so they were both coming at me real hard. And so the rep from Cleveland was like, okay, we looked at your transcript and everything looked cool, but these classes right here, they don't go with our curriculum. So you will have to come in as a sophomore.
You weren't hearing that.
And I'm like, no, we not. And literally, that was the deciding factor in me coming to Memphis. Memphis had a solid program. Cleveland was a better school. Okay. But what I got from Memphis, like I couldn't got from Cleveland. I can say that for sure.
It all worked out.
Yeah.
And what year was that you moved to Memphis?
That was 2008.
2008. You have been with us in the city of good abode. And I know you weren't culture shocked because, you've made the comparisons. But what immediately stuck out to you when you got to Memphis in 08?
So it's interesting. I didn't know Memphis was as diverse of a city as it was. I was introduced to Memphis through Midtown because that's where the school was.
That's a very diverse area.
I didn't know Memphis was black, though.
You didn't know?
I didn't know. I found it out later on.
You found it out?
In a great way, though. In a great way.
Yes.
But all I saw was, these newspapers and these magazines that had, RSVP, Memphis Flyer, some of the other ones. And I was like, oh, okay. And that's what I thought Memphis looked like. And I saw the news. And so, like, that's what I knew of Memphis. And so I didn't have time to really explore. I was going to school. But then when I did have time to explore and some of the people that were going to the school that were from Memphis, talking to them, learning, and I was like, oh, Memphis is black.
Man, what?
Okay. All right. That made me feel so good. I didn't know what to expect. I'm like, all right, well, it's...
Oh, my gosh.
But that was probably the biggest, moment.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, while you attended the Memphis College of Art, what were some of your favorite classes while you were there? And what did you really, just tune into if it's like a certain disciplinary while you were there?
So I'm going to give it to you straight.
Give it to me straight because I know you are.
So I'm thankful for the college as it's brought me here and the things that I learned from it. But... it wasn't a lot that so the classes that I took were good, but I didn't learn as much from the class itself as the lesson I was supposed to get from it. For instance, I had a professor, who was a little stern and I would say unfair to a certain degree. And I was like, but I know this, and I know this, and that, and that, and the other. And I remember talking to my mom, and she was like, maybe the lesson isn't, in this schoolwork. Maybe it's another lesson in this you need to learn, like being patient or some kind of perseverance or, standing your ground or something like that. And so I'm like, that ain't why I came here, though. Like, that's not why I'm here. I'm here to get better skills, to develop this and develop. She was like, yeah, but, just see it through. And sure enough, those were some of the lessons that I got from some of those classrooms. Now, mind you, they had a strong art history program. Shout out to Ellen Doherty, if you're listening to this. She got me hip to a lot of art history. The other classes were good.
The mother class.
And I don't want to just, throw all the shade on it, but for me and my experience, I think because I was maybe a little further along in my journey than some of the other students or, whatever, it was challenging navigating that space. But those classes, the other lessons that were in there, those were the ones that were for me, and I got those.
Well, you know what? I know that you received just what you needed from Memphis College of Art, from, everything that you learned prior to that, because you have partnered with so many, big-time projects in the city. So... how did all of that come about? Did they say, oh, S.O. Tolson, the man in the art world in Memphis, y'all need to be hooking up with? How did you come about to be this big art guy here in the city?
So, another thing I learned from Memphis College of Art is how college works. So... I thought, when you went to those big institutions that, the more you paid, the better the education. It's like, nah, It's about resources and access. That's
Definitely.
what it's about. Like the Ivy League schools, you pay so much money because you go into school with like the next CEO of whatever.
Real deal.
The next president of, and so you're tapped into a network. And when I went to the art school, I was tapped into a network that was here. And so I had, some mobility and some accessibility to, this art gallery, to this art opening, to this show, to this museum. And so I was in the know. And I went for design. And when I got my bachelor's, I went straight into freelancing. And so, I had no leads necessarily, but I did get tapped into a network of musicians and artists. In fact, I actually did some music for a long time.
Okay. You say you did some music.
I did, yeah. So, fun story. Me and my homegirl, Siffin, shout out to Siffin.
I know Siffin.
You know Siffin?
Yes.
Yeah. We were bandmates.
She's in New Orleans
She's
now,
in New
right?
Orleans
Yes.
now, yeah. We were in the dorm, and she was jamming, she was beatboxing and singing, and I was like, oh, that's dope. And so we in the dorm just kind of jamming, and news got around, guy from the lunchroom was like, hey, I need to go down to this open mic on South Main. And we like, cool. We went to the open mic. We did 2 numbers, left the open mic with a gig.
Okay.
And we had to put something for the gig. Like, we ain't got nothing. We ain't got no material. So we put some material together, and we did the gig, and we literally was doing shows ever since. And because of those experiences and me being tapped into that network, people who needed flyers, people who needed a CD cover, people who needed a poster, I was like, I got you, because I was in the mix. So it was like, oh, you do music and you also... So, like, I was doing a whole lot of posters during that time.
Yeah, getting paid.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that. I was eating almost.
You was busy.
I was busy. I was developing a portfolio of work at that time. But I started doing that, and I kept that going. And eventually people saw the work that I was doing, and then over time it was like, oh, well, I think you'd be good for this. That's really how it started for me.
Because, a lot of times, even let's just say with music, a lot of artists say it's so hard to break in the city of Memphis. Like, it's the grit and grind. You gonna have to ride or die it out. It's like that in the art world too? It
is. It's, because similarly, you'll have somebody that's doing a certain style, right? And, like, that's the hottest style that's out. Now people are mimicking this style. And so now you got you and 200 more people that are doing the same thing. And so it's like, okay, so which one do I go with? And then it's like, okay, am I trying to get paid? And then you go with the cheaper version of the person that's kind of doing the same thing, that's in style. And so it's tricky to make a name for yourself in any of those spaces.
What does the art scene look like in Memphis? Like, for those that don't know, tell us what that looks like here.
Okay, so there are several different scenes, and I think when I got to Memphis, there was another scene that was developing, almost like another renaissance, a resurgence of the arts again. And it was, on one hand, a group of people who felt like they had created the scene, but they didn't get the recognition. It's kind of like, like a generational thing. So, like, how Gen X be having issues with, like, the millennials.
Yes.
And the millennials be like, Gen Z and all. And so, but it's like, there was a transition around that time where the people who, like, really, the front runners of the scene, whether it was the R&B scene or the hip-hop scene or whatever, it was some tension. But I think over time, it was really about how can we make this thing happen together. And so there was, as much as there was some tension, I think people were trying to figure out how to make it work. How do we create together? And so same in the art world, people were trying to figure out how can we build this thing together. So doing art shows, doing group shows, doing a solo show where people come and support. You know, we were just trying to figure out what it looked like. But I think compared to other cities, there's a community here. Now, other people may have resources, right, which is what we need. But
that's what we need.
Yeah, we need it. But there's a strong knit community here, and so that grit and grind, we all have it here, and we have it together.
Gotcha.
So I think that's the thing that makes the network here in Memphis so different and so beautiful, honestly.
And is that what, you know, made you co-find the Artistic Lounge?
Actually, yes.
Okay.
There was this place called The Word. Shout out to Tamika Greer and Tanya Dyson. I almost forgot her name. And they really created this amazing, beautiful place that I was like, I want to be a part of this, you know. And so it was one of the things, honestly, that kept me in Memphis, like that scene. And I had gotten together with Tamika Greer, and she had this thing that she wanted to develop. And so me and Siffin worked with her, and we developed Artistic Lounge. And for those artists that wanted to be seen, who wanted to do their own music, who wanted to really just get out there and break that scene that you were talking about, to like really make it, we were providing a platform for them. And so, having those people, those talents, those people creating something together, like that was one of the things that happened.
Wow. Is it still going on today?
Unfortunately, it's not. Like it ended right before the pandemic happened. But from 2012 to 2019, it was amazing, the artists that came through. So like Tank and the Bangers that people know now, they were here. You could pay, at the time, $5 to come and see them. It was, I think they came in 2015. But like so many amazing artists, you know, regionally have come through, and also just people who were developing their craft, and they got it to a point where they were really like, okay, I want to let people know what I'm doing.
Y'all need to get that back popping.
I know.
You know, it's no more COVID going on.
You know, I mean, well, I think we safer.
I think.
Maybe. But no, it's something I've thought about. What does it look like to have some kind of showcase or a place for artists to,
yes,
you know,
I
gather
would love to see you do that.
Yes. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see. It's in the works.
Now, how would you describe your artistic style?
So, first, I had to figure out that what I did was a thing. For those who don't know, I basically draw letters.
He's draw letters?
I draw letters for a living.
But you make them look good.
I do. I do. And it came from my love of just, you know, typefaces. Because my background is in design. I just love fonts and all of that and how they just communicated so many different things. But I would call my style very, you know, I would say urban, you know, very city, very grassroots, very approachable. It feels black without being like that, you know, how people try to imitate what blackness should look like.
Yes, I
you
do.
know, I think it's authentically black. Yeah, I would say that.
What's your favorite font?
Ooh.
If you had to choose.
Oh, that's so Open Sans, Montserrat, Gotham is a really good one. These are all sans serif fonts. But I do like Garamond. I like Helvetica. It's straight to the point. Bows specifically, like or a black weight. I like sans serifs because they're straight to the point without the frills. And if you got really good content, you can do anything in Helvetica. Like Helvetica's tricky because it's so basic almost, it's just bare minimum. And people be trying to say, like, no, you use that when you really saying something. You know, if you ain't saying nothing, get you a little pretty font. Like, so, yeah, I like sans serifs because it's straight to the point and it's about the content more than these letters.
And, you know, those fonts that you've just named, I know I've used them to create visuals on Canva. Like Helvetica for sure. Like, and you said you didn't even know it was a thing that you were doing.
I didn't know. I mean, as far as like drawing letters, and then I never seen anybody like me drawing letters, right? On, you know, Pinterest and on Instagram, I just saw white women, you know, drawing little pretty letters, look like a Christmas card. You know,
getting paid.
It's cute, and I was like, that's cool, but I want to do it like this. And so stepping out and doing that was different. Like that whole journey was very interesting, how I got into that. So.
Yes, and you're still in it.
And I'm still in it.
And you're still in it. So.
And I didn't know that I would be here in it. It was something that was just for me, honestly. So how I got into it. Okay. Choose 901, speaking of them, I was doing all of that design stuff for the people, you know, doing, you know, the hip hop and doing this show and all that. Yeah. I had a talk with one of the producers at Choose 901, and they was like, hey, you do design and stuff, right? And I was like, yeah, I do. And they just had an opening. And so I went from almost eating every day.
Okay.
Right? To knowing how much I was going to, you know, get every month, being able to budget, being able to, so I'm like, woo, as an artist. Everything.
Yes.
So I had time to just create stuff for me. You know, when you're a designer, it's for everybody else. You know, you make sure their needs are taken care of. But as an artist, I didn't have that space anymore because everything I did had to make $1. It had to pay for something. Had to take care of some bill, some whatever. And so when I had the job at Choose 901, it was like, okay, now there's space to get back to me. So I did what I knew. I was drawing, you know, sketches of letters like I was doing for a project. But I was like, oh, what would it look like if I did it like this? And I really just started creating things for me. And I used Instagram as like this accountability partner. And it was like, I'm going to do something every day. And so people would see pieces that I was doing. If I was drinking, you know, some wine with friends, I would do a piece drinking wine with friends. And I would post it on social media. Now, the thing that really picked up was I did this piece, and it said, embrace your inner Memphis.
Okay, here we go.
And that came out of conversation, you know, with a friend. And I was like, oh, let me do that. And then I posted on social media. It was that weekend. And I remember Monday came by, and I got this DM from somebody. It was like, oh, we want to make this a shirt. But what they didn't say was they wanted me to make it a shirt. And I was like, okay. And so I called some friends, and we was like, okay, how we going to figure this out? So I knew a guy was doing some silk screening for shirts. I was like, I need a mock-up of a shirt. And I had a friend that was, you know, good with websites, and had a landing page, had this T-shirt mock-up within like 72 hours, and it was up, and I was taking pre-orders for the shirt. Only to protect the idea. Not because I was trying to make it a thing, but because I wanted to protect the idea of embracing your inner Memphis. And so, like, that's how all of this stuff kind of really started taking off.
Now, when you came up with embrace your inner Memphis, put it on a T-shirt, does that belong to you? How does that work?
So copyrights, trademarks, like I'm still learning a lot of that. And at the time, I definitely didn't have any idea about that. I just knew that I had to be the first one, or I needed some evidence that, you know, this is my idea to put it out there first. But when I did that, people responded. And I didn't know that people were going to respond the way that they did.
And
people
taking it to you.
Pre-orders. They're like, oh, yeah, I need 3 of them. You know, I got a cousin. I want to send one. And it was wild. And so that's how that started, and it was with my artwork on it, and so that's really when everything really changed.
Just changed.
Yeah.
Wow. So I know that you're a plant zaddy.
Ha.
A plant zaddy. You know what? I started my plant journey at the start of the pandemic. My mother-in-law had kept telling me, Ina, just get a couple plants, see which ones you like. I fell in love. I wanted to keep, putting water in them and looking at how they changed every day. Is that the same for you?
It is. It is.
And how did you become plant zaddy?
So I was already plant zaddy before the quarantine. But what quarantine did, because everybody was inside, it was like, okay, I'm going to be here for a minute. So how can I make this space feel really good? And I started buying some more plants. And that was fun. And plants, they're kind of like people.
They really are.
And I didn't know how much they were like people until I had more of them and different kinds. And so I had a fiddle leaf, and I had in this spot that I thought would be really cute.
I can't take care of none of them.
Now, let me tell you, I thought the same thing. I got two of them. I had one in this one corner, and I had one on the other side of the room. And so the one in this other corner, it just died. Like just died. And I was like, I'm terrible. I started feeling bad.
I did too. Because it was such a pretty plant.
Really not, and they're really temperamental. And so but at the time I was like, okay, am I doing something wrong? Now the other one in the corner, it was on its way out. But there was something about the lesson that I'm like, okay, why did it die? I was giving it water. I was, what if I moved it? And so then I moved the one that was, on its last leg to this other side of the room where it had more light. Now, it didn't, look the best at the time, but it's, I moved it just to see what happened. And next thing I knew, it perked up.
It needed more light.
But the lesson I got out of it is that sometimes we try to put things in situations that look real nice, that we think that they're supposed to be in, but really it needs something else. And so sometimes it can't grow because it's in the wrong situation, right? So I had to put in the situation that was right for it, and then it was able to grow. Yes. And so I'm like, oh, I got to listen to the plants.
You got to listen to the plants.
I can't just put it over here because I think it's cute over here or because I think it looks nice here. What does the plant need?
Right.
And then I started focusing on what the plant needed. And so then that's how I really started, being a plant zaddy.
A plant zaddy. Have you started any gardening?
I would like to. So I'm in an apartment, and I don't really have access to a lot of land to start gardening like that right now. But I would love to. I grew up actually with gardens. Back in East St. Louis, we had a garden. Doing tomatoes, doing cucumbers.
That's what I did
and
this
stuff
past
like that.
summer.
Really?
I love it.
I love doing that. So I would like to be able to do that again. But right now, I'm doing these indoor plants, and they give me life.
Plant zaddy of the year. Let's talk about TEDx. Now, you have done something that I am still trying to be on track to do. And that is you were a TEDx speaker, less grind, more chill. How did this come about?
So, I was actually nominated. Shout out to Make Mad Beats.
Oh, that's my boy.
Yeah, good people. He put my name in the hat, and but I still had to earn the spot. I don't want to say that I had to earn my keeps, but he nominated me, and the reps reached out, and they had followed me. And they had some ideas for some stuff that I should do. I'm like, so y'all know who I am?
Okay.
And the thing that I got out of it that made the most sense to me at the time was less grind, more chill. And I think that's just what we all needed. This was around the height of the mass exodus. people like they don't care about these jobs no more.
For real.
For real. But more than just that, it was about people creating spaces for themselves to connect back with themselves. You know, grind culture. And it's weird saying that in the home of grit and grind.
Okay.
You know, how grind culture is really unsustainable.
Maybe it'll wear you down.
You know, and we've gotten used to things like burnout, like, and it's like you shouldn't be used to that, and that shouldn't be a part of regular life. And so, how can we avoid getting to those places? And so, I started talking about that, and so the interesting thing about doing a TEDx talk is that it's not a script. It's not like you learn the lines. You're creating all of that. And you're essentially the expert on the topic. And so it was a little overwhelming, like me being the expert on this subject of chilling, right? But I had more information than I thought that I had to really talk about it.
So it wasn't hard to come up with?
I really had to sit with it. I really had to sit with it. And one of the things that I was able to talk about in my story was my time in college when I got here. I told you, like, that experience was what it was. And I think it was like that because there was so much grind that was in it. There wasn't a lot of time to really process things. It was just tests. It was assignments. It was this due date that was like a wild due date. And I got these other classes. And they're like, so why are y'all acting like y'all my only class? Like I got 6 of these. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I was at a point where I got burnt out. Yeah. And I remember that point that's why I operate life the way I do now. I was like, I'm never going to get in this position ever again. I remember saying that in college. I was like, I don't care what it is. I'm not going to allow myself to get in a position to where I was burnt out. And when I say burnt out, like I was bedridden. Oh,
that was a bad
burnout. It was bad. Like I couldn't get out of bed.
You was depressed.
It was bad. And I'm like, I'm not ever going to get myself in this position again.
Yeah.
And so when I started doing some research on it because of TEDx, I found out that over 2/3 of the working force are burnt out. Like right now.
For sure.
Like burnt out.
Look, we say grit and grind. That's the United States way. That's how they breed us around here.
And it's terrible.
Across the pond, baby. It's holiday.
It's terrible. And so I was like, no, I'm going to have to talk about this. And so being the person to be the expert on chilling was daunting, but I got through it.
Yes, you did.
And we made it happen.
Yes. So tell me about, like, once you did your TEDx, did a lot of things come with that?
Yes.
Good and bad? All good?
Yeah. It was interesting. So, for instance, because I was able to do this talk, I was able to, have clear, more concise language to talk about the subject, right? And I did this tweet, and I was talking about, we don't need to earn rest. We deserve rest, because we're humans, and we shouldn't feel bad about getting rest. And I put it out there. And next thing I know, I had 200 likes. And I'm like, oh, that's a big deal. I don't get that much on Twitter. And by the afternoon, I had 2K likes. And I said, oh.
Everybody felt the same thing you were feeling.
By that evening, I had over 100,000 likes.
Wow, you went viral.
Then the next day, I had 200. I went viral off of that statement. That happened right after TEDx Talk. I had a few people reach out to me because of that somebody did a piece in London about that piece. That tweet had been transcribed in probably 6 languages.
Amazing.
it was wild. And I had a couple people just reach out to me just about, like who are you? I just want to know more about you. Really dope connections. So that's the good stuff. Some of the not so great stuff
was what?
Was learning how many people are against sleep.
Really? They want to be grinding.
Yes.
I can have it.
And I think it's because we equate work to value and worth. If you got to earn your keeps around here, you got to work to, be of substance or value. And I think we've taken on that so much so that when we're resting, we feel worthless. Yeah. And so people like, I got to get the bag. I got to go ahead and, I got to work. I got to work. And so we work because otherwise we don't feel like we're valuable. Yeah. And I'm like, that's terrible.
And a lot of us have seen our parents do it growing up. Yeah. Like, it's just, something that it's in our DNA.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I want to help us unlearn that. And that's really what that talk was.
I'm here for it. Yeah. Let's grind more chill, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Esco, we are going to do something real quick. Esco's Pop Talk. I just want to know your thoughts on this. And Esco Pop Talk is brought to you by Exact Tax Prep. Mr. Emil Segui Jr. Call him at 901-752-9152 for all of your tax needs. Let's talk about this Putin and Ukraine situation. Just yesterday, Russia invaded Ukraine. Now, we're talking about Ukraine, they're their own entity out there right in the middle of Russia. After the Soviet Union dissolved in, I think, 1991, they were still standing. They wanted to stay, their own country. So Putin still running shit out there in Russia. He said, I want that. I want Ukraine. And so he invaded yesterday.
Always starting something. Like, do we have time? That's my thing. Like, do we really have time for this? Because I'm like, because I don't want to put this out there and knock on wood or whatever. But like, this going to start the third one. That's all I'm going to say.
World War III, seriously.
And we ain't got let me tell you who ain't got time. United States ain't got time. United States need a cosigner right now. On anything. We in debt
like a
so much debt.
Oh my God.
And you talking about doing a war?
But it look like Biden want to get with him.
I'm just, so.
You're scared. You're scared.
I be trying to focus on the things I can control. Like that I ain't got nothing to do with that. You know what I'm saying? Like I be trying to focus on, but like I do think about that. So real talk. I got overwhelmed last year because I realized that, we just a lot of stuff that ain't going to happen. We still fighting over, who should wear a mask, when, where, why. How we going to deal with global warming? Okay. How we going to we talking about, should we recycle this? Like, it's just
it's a lot.
And Putin. It's just
we all in their business. United States has always been in everybody else's business trying to resolve all their matters, and it continues in 2022.
That's why we ain't got flying cars. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Like we could be so much further, but no, we in everybody else's business. We trying to
everybody business.
I just knew that the year 2000, everything was gonna be silver and chrome.
No, World War III.
Cars is gonna be flying. That's why we can't have that.
World War III, my friend.
Because people can't put on a mask or decide not to or who should or going to start this war.
Just too much.
It's just too much.
Too much. We got to focus on, big things for us and what we're going to be doing. I do want to ask you this last question. Why Memphis? Why are you still here in Memphis?
I'm still here in Memphis because it makes sense for me to be here. I tend to do things that make sense. Most of the time. And it makes sense for me to be here. The community, the people that I've developed these relationships with are second to none, honestly. And any place you go is really about the people. You know, you can go to, let's just say New York, you can go to L.A., you can go to these, big places, but if you don't know nobody there, like, why are you there? You know what I'm saying? If you ain't got no community, if you ain't got nobody, to like lean on, you know, to support you. Like you might as well be in Mayberry, you know. Yeah. But the fact that I've been able to connect with some amazing people here and the opportunities that you can create here are just endless.
You just said some opportunities you can create.
You can create here.
Seriously.
It's endless, and it's like it's a good thing and it's a challenging thing at the same time, because I feel like Memphis is an all-American city. And what I mean by that is all the things that the world loves about the United States are here in Memphis. You know, the food, the art, the music, the culture, the people, you know, in the South, the Southern hospitality, like all of that is here. And also the most terrible things about the United States are here. Inequity, racism,
a big melting pot.
And so it's a hodgepodge of all of these great and not so great things. And so in a sense, you know, the stuff that's not here, it ain't here. And so there's opportunity to create it.
Definitely.
You know? And so I think those are the things that make this place so unique, so necessary, so frustrating, so challenging, but also so beautiful all at the same time. So if you're willing to come here and, like, get to work and make things happen, you can make it happen in Memphis.
You got to put that work in.
You got to put the work in. You have to work for it. Sometimes it shouldn't be as hard, but you can make it happen for sure.
You can make it happen. Yeah. Wow, amazing. Well, I want to thank you so much, S.O. Tolson, for joining me today on the Verbally Effective Podcast. You're so serious.
Pleasure,
like,
man.
You got this whole personality. I didn't know. Like, I'm vibing off of you, right? You a vibe.
Thank you.
You are a vibe.
I'm a quote. Ina Esco said I was a vibe, y'all. That's going to be on my resume.
Oh, yes. I want you to let everybody know how they can follow your journey and see your wonderful art and see what you got coming up next.
Okay. So you can follow me at Cool Urban Hippie. That's HIPPIE. On all of them. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Cool Urban Hippie. And then you can follow me on my website. You can also purchase some merch from the website, too.
Purchase some merch.
That's www.sotolson.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much, S.O., for joining me today. You are indeed verbally effective as well. I look forward to working with you on something soon.
Yes.
So we're going to make it happen in this 22.
Absolutely. You heard it here first.
Look, World War III or not, we're going to make it happen, honey. And I just want to thank you guys for tuning in to yet another episode of the Verbally Effective Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the pod on all streaming platforms and also subscribe on YouTube to the Ina Esco channel. See you guys next week for another edition of the Verbally Effective Podcast. Thanks.